A new transfer student falls victim to a prank on his first day at a new school. His classmates tell him that to join a club, he has to complete a task. Ask the most beautiful girl in school out.
He has to do it if he wants to be in the crew.
Yeah, he can do it if he wants to get his face punched.
Yeah, I mean,
Are you gonna do it or not?
Wanting to fit in, he awkwardly introduces himself to her, hoping to get it over with.
Hi, I'm Matthew. I'm the new kid here. I'm just kind of wondering if maybe you want to going out or something.
But her boyfriend, a school bully, quickly steps in, mocking him.
This kid's stupid or something?
I'm sorry.
And shoving him to the ground before walking away. He is left humiliated. This poor transfer student is named Matthew. He's facing the toughest challenge yet, starting over at a new school where he doesn't know a single person. With his nerdy looks, he's convinced he'll be an easy target for bullies.
Mom, you have no idea what it's like to be the new kid. I might as well have a kick me sign on my back.
And he's right. He blames everything on his mom's recent marriage, arguing with her constantly and insisting none of this would have happened if she hadn't remarried.
Mom, I had a life. I had friends. Nobody I know has even heard of this school.
Just seeing some rough-looking students outside the school makes him even more anxious. On his first day, Matthew shows up in a formal suit, standing out among the casually dressed crowd and drawing everyone's attention. The first to tease him is Nick.
And I think you're late, Poindexter. Go to the office.
Mr. Worthland.
Who gets caught by the teacher and ends up with detention. When Nick asks for help, Matthew steps in without hesitation.
Yeah, we're friends. It was a joke.
Turns out, Nick's not all bad. He even gives Matthew some advice. Ditch the suit if he wants to blend in.
Lose the suit, man. You're just asking for it.
That night, while Matthew's unpacking his things, his stepfather Jacob stops by to check in. They barely know each other. Jacob tries to make small talk, asking about his day. The conversation is stiff until Matthew asks if he can put up a poster of a boxer. Turns out, the man on the poster is his grandfather.
Your mom told me he was a car salesman.
He is, but before that he was a fighter.
Matthew's been into boxing since he was a kid. He's just never had the chance to train. Jacob is stunned. He had no idea his father-in-law was a boxer.
He does live in Florida, though, right?
Back at school, Matthew slowly starts finding his place. Nick introduces him to Ruby, a kind classmate with a warm smile. The three start to click, and for the first time, Matthew doesn't feel so alone. They invite him to join their unofficial club. Curious, Matthew asks what the initiation is. Nick smirks and tells him he has to ask out Teresa, the most popular girl in school. Matthew, taking the challenge seriously, gathers his nerve and walks up to her. That's when her boyfriend beats him down in front of everyone. It's humiliating, but instead of quitting, something inside Matthew shifts. Jacob tries to bond with his stepson by giving him a book about Muhammad Ali, one of the greatest boxers of all time. Matthew is thrilled, saying it's perfect.
Good, thank you. This is Muhammad Ali standing over Sonny Liston. It's what they called the Phantom Punch.
For the first time, the two share a genuine moment. The next day, Matthew shows up to school with Ali's book tucked under his arm, reading as he walks. Hector, a known bully, spots him and sees an easy target. Without warning, he dumps juice all over Matthew's shirt and ruins the book.
Speak up, punk!
Just let me go!
His crew laughs as Matthew stands there, drenched and humiliated. Just as the bullying escalates, that's when someone unexpected steps in. Dan, the school janitor. He's been watching Hector for a while and orders him to clean up the mess.
But you will clean it up, right?
Hector doesn't dare argue. Noticing the boxing book, Dan asks Matthew if he's interested in boxing and tells him about the school's boxing club, planting the first seed of hope for Matthew's fresh start. Staring at the boxing club flyer pinned to the wall, Matthew can't help but feel a pull. He wants to join. Just then, Hector shows up again, taunting him.
Dude, you are a trip.
Nick steps in to defend Matthew, and the tension quickly boils over.
Yeah, I should have known you'd hang out with this wimp.
Oh yeah, well it's better than hanging out with a meathead.
Shoving starts, voices rise, and soon teachers are rushing in to break things up. In the principal's office, Nick and Matthew get an earful. Both are slapped with a week of detention, while Hector, the real bully, walks out without so much as a warning. The principal keeps Matthew behind, lecturing him about how, as a transfer student, he should avoid getting into trouble. The unfairness of it all makes Matthew seethe.
We didn't start anything. That guy Hector did. This detention is not fair.
Not everything is fair.
Later, he brings up joining the boxing club with his parents. His mom is dead set against it. She thinks boxing is a brutal sport. The conversation quickly turns into an argument, with Matthew blaming her for uprooting his life.
Jimmy, you moved me away from all my friends out here to Nowheresville. That is what has gotten into me.
Hey.
When Jacob tries to mediate, Matthew snaps, insisting he doesn't see Jacob as his father. That night, his mom sits him down for another talk. She explains she's just trying to keep him safe. She doesn't want him ending up in dangerous situations like his grandfather.
Boxing is so dangerous. You know what can happen. You're not always a winner.
Despite Matthew's insistence that he only wants to box to stand up to bullies, her worries eventually wear him down. But the next day, unable to shake the urge, Matthew sneaks a look at the boxing gym. Coach Harward is announcing tryouts. He'll pick 1 or 2 alternates for the school's AIBA team, but they have to spar with the current champions for 30 seconds first. If they pass, they'll train for 8 weeks as alternates. Matthew soon discovers that Hector is the reigning middleweight state champ. Intimidated, he starts to slip away, but Dan catches him and asks why he isn't signing up. Matthew admits Hector scares him.
That guy Hector really annoys me, so I'm just gonna go.
Well, that's a good thing because you can use that feeling against him in the ring.
Dan tells him that fear can be an advantage. It can help you win. Bolstered by Dan's encouragement, Matthew musters up the courage to rejoin the tryouts. One by one, students step up to spar with the champs. When it's finally Matthew's turn, Hector sees his chance for payback. He turns the match into a spectacle, cornering Matthew and hitting him hard while the coach barely intervenes. Dan watches from the sidelines, ready to step in if things get out of hand. Matthew finally lands a counterpunch, but instead of praise, he gets harsh criticism from the coach.
What's your problem, kid? I call time you stop punching and get out of my gym.
Dan shoots the coach a glare, but Hector still gets off scot-free. Afterward, Dan finds Matthew, who's feeling defeated.
I made a fool of myself.
Dan reassures him, saying that just having the guts to get in the ring is already a win.
Takes more guts than most people have just to get in the ring.
He goes on to share his own story, his love for boxing, his dream of becoming the world's top heavyweight, and how his impatience led to a string of failures.
To make a long story short, driving fast and showing off finally caught up with me. Put an end to all that.
Later, at Dan's place, Matthew notices his trophies and a bespectacled boy, and his curiosity about Dan's past grows. Dan gave up his professional career for his family, something Matthew can't quite understand. Why not make a living doing what you love?
You don't get into boxing to make money. You get into boxing to be the champ.
Even though Dan didn't stick with pro boxing, his passion for the sport never faded. Matthew quietly asks if Dan will train him for real. Seeing how much boxing means to Matthew, Dan promises to give it his best shot. During the early days of training, Dan quickly spots an issue. Matthew burns through his energy way too fast. It's not that he's out of shape, his stamina just isn't up to par. The reason soon becomes clear. Matthew is a leukemia survivor, and years of treatment have taken a toll on his endurance. Ever since he can remember, he's dreamed of being a boxer, but his mom, always worried about his health, never let him near a gym, much less a boxing ring. She hoped he'd follow a safer path, maybe become an accountant or a doctor, something without the risk of getting hurt.
Boxing's not really on her list. She thinks I'm gonna get hurt or become irresponsible.
I don't know. Maybe you ought to listen to her.
Even so, Matthew's determination finally wins Dan over.
And Wayne McCullough has a cyst in his head and he still fights.
Dan officially agrees to train him, but insists it stays between them. Matthew couldn't be happier.
Yes, you're gonna train me.
Matthew throws himself into training, even when Hector finds out and mocks him in front of everyone.
What a freaking loser.
Ruby, on the other hand, is supportive. She believes boxing will help Matthew stand up for himself. Matthew appreciates her encouragement. As training goes on, Matthew makes steady progress, but Hector keeps provoking him, still bitter over the punch Matthew landed earlier. Looking for payback, Hector lies to Matthew, claiming the coach is impressed and wants to give him another shot, a special tryout.
I told the coach that he should give you another chance.
Matthew falls for it and shows up at the gym, only to walk straight into Hector's trap. Hector beats him down, leaving him sprawled on stage. Dan rushes in to break it up, but Hector mocks him.
You're just the janitor, so why don't you come in here and mop it up?
Calling him just a janitor. When Hector tries to jump Dan, Dan easily takes him down. Coach Harward walks in and, true to form, sides with Hector, scolding both Matthew and Dan.
You stay out of this, Dan.
Matthew goes home with a black eye, which sends his mom into a panic. She wants to call the school right away.
Oh, no. This is unacceptable. I am telling the principal.
Mom, it's just a bruise.
Not wanting Dan to get in trouble, Matthew begs her not to. Jacob backs Matthew up, and for the first time, Matthew starts to respect his stepdad. Later, Coach Harward catches up with Dan to apologize for Hector's behavior. It's clear they go way back. They used to be training partners. Dan calls Harward out for playing favorites and letting Hector off the hook, arguing that Hector's violent behavior deserves a suspension.
Hector beats up a kid for no reason. You just talk to him. He should be suspended. Quite frankly, he should be arrested.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, you know I'm right.
Harward disagrees, saying Hector's talent makes him worth protecting, even if he's got a bad attitude. When Dan objects, Harward mocks him, saying they're both just trying to help the kids they believe in. The difference is, he thinks Hector has what it takes to go pro, while Matthew doesn't belong in the ring.
The only difference is my kid's got it and yours doesn't. And if you don't put an end to it, he's going to wind up just like you, hurt and defeated.
Dan makes him a deal. Let Matthew compete fairly, and Dan will handle all his training. If not, Dan will report what happened to the principal.
Maybe you'd like to see Matthew Shiner. Maybe you'd like to talk to a few of the witnesses.
Backed into a corner, Harward agrees, but only if Matthew brings an assigned parental consent form. Hit with this new hurdle, Matthew starts to doubt himself. Maybe he's not cut out for boxing after all. Dan lifts his spirits, sharing the story of Mike Tyson and his coach.
But it's not just about being scared. It's what you do when you feel that way. How you react to your fear. That's what makes you the hero or the coward.
And reveals he's already entered Matthew into the selection competition. As weeks go by, Matthew's hard work pays off. His stamina improves, his lungs get stronger, and he can finally go a full round without running out of steam. His punches are faster, sharper, and more accurate every day. But when Dan asks him to get his parents' signature on the consent form, panic sets in.
You're gonna have to get these release forms signed by your parents. Otherwise, you can't compete and I can't take you off campus.
Rather than risk losing his chance, Matthew forges the signature. At the gym, Matthew spots an old photo of Dan and Coach Harward as young men. But Dan isn't the one holding the trophy, a sign that he too faced unfairness in his past. Meanwhile, things move quickly with Ruby. Matthew goes over to her house for a movie night, and the two make their relationship official. The next day, Hector spots them together, throws out some taunts.
Look, it's the loser and his loser girlfriend, the perfect couple.
And a fight breaks out. Matthew stands up for himself, but still can't match Hector's strength. In the chaos, Matthew accidentally lets slip about his relationship with Ruby in front of Nick.
Hey, we were just talking about kissing you.
Upsetting her.
You guys are such losers.
And leaving Matthew feeling even worse. As usual, Matthew heads to Dan's studio for training, but Dan's not there. Not wanting to skip a workout, Matthew goes through the drills on his own before heading home. But when he walks in, he freezes. The principal is there, sitting with his parents.
Is it true that you have been boxing at school and that the janitor has been coaching you?
The principal called his mom to double-check her consent. Now, all of Matthew's secrets are out in the open. With nowhere left to hide, he comes clean to his parents and the principal. He admits he's been bullied from day one and wanted to earn respect through boxing. He tells them how much he loves the sport, how Dan is the only one who believed in him.
He's like my only friend. He's someone who actually believes in me.
Hey!
And how, because of one signature, his shot at boxing is gone. Finally, Matthew asks about Dan, only to learn that Dan's been fired for supposedly inciting violence at school.
He did his job. He didn't do anything wrong. He knows more about boxing than that stupid coach at school.
When Matthew hears the news, he storms out of the house, his mother fuming at his defiance. But for Matthew, this is about more than rules. It's his life. He refuses to live in fear any longer and is determined not to give up. He tracks down Dan, now living on a boat, and faces his former mentor. With genuine remorse, Matthew apologizes for his mistakes.
I'm sorry that I lied about getting my parents' permission.
And pleads with Dan to keep training him for the upcoming match. Dan looks at him and says, "There's nothing more to teach." Matthew already knows all the techniques.
As long as you get in that ring and do your best, if you fight that fear, you win no matter what.
What he needs now is to make things right with his parents and get ready to face Hector. Taking Dan's words to heart, Matthew heads home with a new sense of resolve. After days of soul-searching, Matthew's mom finally makes a big decision. She gives him her blessing to compete. Not only that, but she promises to be in the stands, cheering him on in the most important fight of his life. The day of the match arrives.
Should we reserve a hospital bed for you?
Ruby forgives Matthew and gives him a drawing of him winning the fight, a token of encouragement. In the locker room, Hector tries to get under his skin, but this time, Matthew stands his ground and fires back.
I'm just too busy thinking about how stupid you sound when you open your mouth.
Then, unexpectedly, Dan appears. Matthew admits how nervous he is,
Just remember, Hector's just as nervous as you are.
and Dan gives him a reassuring nod. Even Matthew's grandfather, a former boxer himself, travels from afar to witness this pivotal moment. Coach Harward steps into the ring and lays out the rules. 3 one-minute rounds, 45-second breaks, and the winner decided by the referee. The bell rings, and the fight is on. Hector comes out swinging, landing a barrage of heavy punches to Matthew's head. Matthew struggles to defend himself and barely makes it through the first round. As the bell rings, Hector sneaks in an extra punch, bloodying Matthew's nose. Dan jumps from his seat in outrage, and Harward finally scolds Hector for breaking the rules.
How am I supposed to back you up if you're not playing by the rules, huh? Know this for yourself.
Seeing Matthew hurting and alone, his grandfather rushes to his side, offering encouragement and sharing a few fighting tips.
You gotta keep your hands up, but don't lose sight of them. Don't hide. Come out with your hands nice and loose, right? The last round, you got them good.
Round 2 begins. Hector lands a brutal shot to Matthew's liver, sending pain radiating through his body. He staggers, nearly going down, but the bell saves him. Dan and his grandfather rush to his corner, propping him up. Dan reminds him that this pain is temporary, and from here on, nobody can take away his courage.
You see it? You're getting sloppy and tired. Okay, this is your round. This is your round. Okay? Give me everything you got. I will.
In the final round, memories of Hector's taunts and bullying flash before Matthew's eyes, fueling every punch. He finally turns the tables, fighting back with everything he's got. With a powerful straight punch, he knocks Hector to the canvas, stunning the crowd into silence. But before the referee can finish the count, Hector manages to get back on his feet, and the match continues. In the end, Hector is declared the winner. Yet, in an unexpected gesture, Hector extends a hand to Matthew in front of everyone.
That was a good match. You hit pretty hard.
Me too.
A sign of respect and consolation. Even in defeat, Matthew gets a standing ovation, with Harward calling for applause in recognition of his courage and resilience. After the match, Harward announces that Matthew will become a core member of the school's boxing team, since Hector will be graduating soon.
What a great discovery I think Matthew Miller is. And I definitely think there's room for him as an alternate in the middleweight division for the all-girls boxing team. What do you say?
Dan, too, leaves the school with a smile, ready to chase his own dreams again. The film closes with Matthew stepping into the spotlight as the school's new boxing star, a young man who won not just respect, but proved that the greatest victories aren't always about the scoreboard, but about having the courage to fight for what you believe in.